Welcome to CCIEORDIE.COM. I'm Artek, and this is CCNP Switch 300-115 1.4D manual pruning. But before we get to manual pruning, let's first have a look at VTP version 3, or I should say, the new improved version of VTP. VTP version 3 will now support the extended VLAN range and also private VLANs. The VTP database can also support other formats, including multiple spanning tree. Precautions against database hijacking, for example, inserting a switch with a higher revision number as a server or client, will no longer whack the existing database because only the VTP domain server already in place, otherwise known as the primary server, is allowed to make changes. Hidden passwords are available, not just plain text, and it can be configured per port instead of only globally as in earlier versions. So let's have a look at the switches. The VTP status of Switch 2, you see we're running version 3, the domain name CCIE, pruning's on, and it's in client mode on Switch 1. To set up the VTP as a primary server, we use user exec command VTP primary VLAN. Intuitively, I would think server, but it's VTP primary VLAN. And it's going to complain because we haven't set it up for version 3 yet. Config T VTP version 3. Exit to user exec mode, VTP primary VLAN. And complaining yet again because it's not in server mode. Config T VTP mode server. And it's in server mode. Let's double check, do show VTP status. And we can see it's version 3. We scroll back up, version 3. The domain name is CCIE. And we're almost there. We want to configure trunking between the client and the server, as well as the primary VTP server. So let's exit VTP, trying one more time, primary VLAN. And now it's going to take a second to turn the feature on. And because I'm impatient, I'm going to hit enter and preempt the confirm, which is coming up here in a second. And there it is. And I've already confirmed that, so we should be good to go. Config T interface range F0/23 to 24 to connect trunks to switch 2. Switch port trunk ncap .1q, because ISL is still the default on these switches. Switch port mode trunk to simply turn trunking on without negotiating on this side. I still have DTP negotiating on the other side of switch 2, which we'll see here in a second. Exit. Do show interface trunk. Good. You notice our mode is on, and 802.1q is set hard for encapsulation, which is naturally a misnomer. It's tagging. Show interface trunk. See the status over here. 23 and 24 are dynamic auto, and they're negotiating trunking or 802.1q with switch 1. And I want to now take a look at internal VLAN usage. When you're mapping out or planning to use extended VLANs, you need to be aware that the VLAN database will reserve internally VLANs in the range after 1005 or 1006 and beyond. And we'll demonstrate that here right now. Interface F0/3. By making interface F0/3 a routed port, or beginning to make it a routed port with no switch port. Now, if we do show VLAN internal usage, it's going to reserve 1006, the next available number in the extended range, and it will continue to do so with other mechanisms as well as more routed ports. So again, that's something to be aware of in the planning phases of using the extended VLAN. So we know we have the trunk set up, so let's set up some VLANs. VLAN 10, 20, 30, and an extended VLAN 4092. And we'll verify once we exit the database that we're synchronizing with our client. Show VLAN brief, and there's 10, 20, 30, and 4092. And coming back to the original part of this segment, manual pruning. In most enterprise networks, you're going to want to specifically allow only certain VLANs across the trunk. And you do that by interface range F0/23 to 24, switch port trunk allowed VLAN, and we'll just use 10, 20, and our 4092 extended VLAN. Exit. Do show run interface F0/23. And now we're only allowing 10, 20, and 4092. This should be cleaned up every time you remove a VLAN from the VLAN database. One way of doing it, again, interface range F0/23 to 24, is to use the clunky switch port trunk allowed VLAN remove. Let's remove 10, for instance. Do show run interface F0/24, and we can see 10 is now gone. Another way to do that is by using your favorite word processor and do show run interface F0/23. And here's the way I prefer to do it, is once you get rid of them in the VLAN database, copy, scrape it into your favorite editor, paste, and then simply remove it from this command, and it will overwrite VLAN 20 in this case. Copy and paste. And notice do show run interface F0/23, and 20 is gone. So again, that's the way I recommend to do it. I think it's a lot safer. I always go to paper before I go to production, and I always prefer scraping from the notebook through the console, etc., as a means to that end.